All right, everybody, welcome to another episode of the Fair Chase podcast. Today we have a very special guest, Dave Wissman, and he's a little bit unlike most guests we have on this podcast in that he has some artistic ability, whereas most of our guests have none. Dave, you want to introduce who you are, and we'll get into a little bit of your background as we go.
Well, I'm David Wissman. I live in Southern Vermont. I've been painting kind of religiously for about two and a half years now. Prior to that, I was coaching Division I football. I was a D-line coach at the 1A program, and then for 9 years, I was the defensive coordinator at Sacred Heart University. And I'm not going to go back any farther than that because it's just a plethora of stops here and there. I don't want to bore anybody with it, but I jumped out of football and said I had enough of it and missing falls that are important to me for as far as hunting and being with my boys. And so I packed it up, put the last program in the rearview mirror, and just stopped giving the United States any of my income anymore because I wasn't making any. So away I went, and it's been fun. It's been a good journey. I've met some really good, cool people via phone and also in person. And I'm always looking for real good captures that intrigue me and that I think when done might have that wow moment for people when they see them. And it's really hard to, I'm sitting in my studio right now. It's really hard to look at a painting as far as a picture and kind of get the breadth of it. It's cool when people stand in front of them and you get that wow moment and they go, wow, that's pretty cool. So
I had one of those moments actually searching on your Instagram page. I was scrolling through them and I stumbled on the oil canvas you have of that bison.
Yeah.
That is,
yep.
And I told James, I'm like, look at this thing is incredible. And he goes, yeah, it's a big painting.
It is. It's I think that one is I think it's 42 square. And actually the gal I got that from was you guys are probably familiar with her on Instagram, Adventure Amy. She's got some great captures. And when I saw that, I just loved the look of the buffalo. I loved the way he was tilted.
Mm-hmm.
You got the sense of the vastness of where it was shot.
Yeah.
And so I got a hold of her, and that's kind of the way I've done it with a number of people. Just things that I said, wow, I love that picture. I love it.
Yeah.
And so I got a hold of Amy, and actually we spoke on the phone, and she goes, oh yeah, have at it. So she sent me the digital, and I think that was a 2-month affair doing that, but it came out good. It's one of my wife's favorite. Well, everybody loves it because you're kind of looking right at you,
Yeah. I mean, you're even capturing like the tuft of all the hairs on its head, and
that was a bastard.
The decent. I bet it was. That's a fine brush right there.
That is. Fine brush.
It was a number one round, and I think I went through 4 of them, just doing his hair. I tend to dive into these paintings that certain ones I just have this via the picture and the subject. It's just I always end up with doing either a bazillion cedar shakes or I call them beanpole or moose whips, like in Call's piece, and like I'm working on trees right now with this landscape, and it's like, God, I'm so sick of them at this point. But it is unbelievable. When I finally finished his hair, because I thought it was important because it is a close-up shot.
Yeah.
And it wasn't going to be done with a big brush. So that was cool.
What's up? We are going to thank a few of these sponsors that help make this beautiful show a reality for all of you. So here we go. So a big reason, I would say, to why we're so successful and we have so many bucks on the wall is because we use HuntWise. HuntWise is a GPS mapping app that you can download on any phone, any platform. You can look up public land huntings, ORV trails. You can get the weather. They actually have a HuntCast 2.0 that they teamed up with Jeff Sturgis to make. It's awesome. You need to check this thing out. Go to HuntWise, download the app.
I feel like if you go into the woods without optics, it's like going into the woods without pants on. Would you agree with that?
To a point.
To a point. We are huge fans of running binoculars, spotting scopes, and different things when we hunt, even whitetail. I bring binoculars out every time I go. We choose Vortex Optics because they make the best glass in the business. They have an amazing warranty, super clear glass, super helpful people that work there.
Also, if you want to rep some sweet Vortex swag like this warm shirt on a nice fall day, head over to Vortex Wear. Thank you. And use the promo code TFC20 for 20% off your purchase. Saddle game, you need to be in it. If you haven't been in it yet, then you don't know what you're missing.
Yeah.
Trophy Line Tree Sales makes some of the best saddles in the industry. They have 3 different platforms that we use and that are awesome.
I want to make a quick plug for the Wingman with a couple steps. You can take one less step, stick, and it's like a combination of a stick and a platform. I've been exclusively hunting out of it this year, and my mobile setup is so sweet. I'm very proud of it.
Awesome.
I highly recommend the Wingman system.
If you're ready to pull the trigger on that and you want to get with James and do the Wingman, head over to the website and you can save yourself 10% on the purchase. TFC 10 will get you that. I like to think I single-handedly got James to switch to compound again, but I'd probably be a liar and everyone would call me out on that. We shoot prime bows. We think they're awesome. Great accuracy, super shootable.
Made here in Michigan.
Made in Michigan, so we love that. It's hard to complain.
That's where Jared was made. So
surprisingly,
we like that. Yeah.
You're welcome. So go check out these prime bows.
We are of a firm belief that the arrow is the lifeblood of the archery industry. We've said it 1,000 times. But in all seriousness, we are huge fans of arrows that are durable, that fly well, and that kind of make up for some of my inaccuracies in the way that I shoot. So we shoot Vector custom arrows.
The hammer.
The hammer.
That's Thor.
They are made in Wisconsin by our buddy Isaac. Great arrows. And if you want to go and get yourself some, have a little bit of a discount, use TFC10 for 10% off. Or call Isaac up and tell him we sent you.
Mm-hmm. You want his phone number? Comment below.
Yep, comment below.
We called him Luther.
That's a great name.
That's a
great bison name. And if anybody's ever seen bison hair, like if you've camped in an area, you can always see it where they rub on stuff or whatever. I mean, that is bison hair, right? Like it looks just like it. And Jared, make a joke about my
I was
hair.
gonna say you pretty much see bison hair every morning, don't you?
Looks like I got anyways, yeah. No, so I had gotten in touch with you, Dave, through John Altman,
Sure.
And he mentioned just interesting guy, and not very many people go from the life of football, and I'm guessing you played to
I did.
Yeah, to being an artist. Is that common? Is that something you've heard anybody else do?
Probably the only one that comes to mind is this dates you guys is Rosie Greer. And you probably don't even know who he was. I don't even know that Rosie's still alive, but he played for the Giants and he was an artist. And as a kid, I was a big Giants fan.
Yeah.
It's interesting. My art has had kind of a speckled run through elementary school right up to high school. Like I skipped a ton of classes in high school, and everybody knew where I was. I was down to the art studio.
Not smoking weed under the bleachers like Jared?
No, my father would have beat the crap out of me.
I'm just kidding. Jared never did that. It was just too easy.
No, so it was, I dabbled with it in high school, and then when I went to UNH, I was a captain up there, and playing college ball can be. I mean, that is your degree for the most part, playing Division I football.
Yeah.
And one AA, and it was interesting. It was halfway through my senior year, and I knew I wasn't going to finish on time.
Right.
And I had some tryouts, and I said, in the spring, I said, I'm going to take a couple classes. Well, I showed up at a class, to make a long story short, and I was a little late to class, and I just got back from the Eagles or the Patriots tryout. And I was pretty big back in college. And I'm banging on the door, and the professor opens the door, and they're already sitting around. They're doing a model session.
Mm.
And he opens the door and he goes, "Can I help you?" And I said, "Yeah, I think I'm in this class." He goes, "Oh, son, I think you're in the wrong building." I mean, I think I had a tank top on. And I was benching 400, squatting 500. And I said, "No, I'm in this class." And he goes, "No." He goes, "Let me see your schedule." So I gave him the schedule, and he kind of looked at me, and it was like begrudgingly, he says, "All right, come on in." And so it was. That's kind of the way it's been the whole time. It's like, are you in the right building? Are you in the right class? And I ended up finishing up down at UMass, and I had some great professors, and football was in the rearview mirror playing, and so one thing led to another, and I ended up with my degree in studio arts. And coaching football was it's a tough profession, and it's especially when you get to be a D coordinator. I was up at 4:00 every morning and shutting it down at 11:30, and
yeah,
and watched a lot of sunsets where I wasn't in the woods, because I love to hunt. I'm maybe one click behind my painting as far as my passion for that, and I love being in the woods. And I got 3 sons, and they all hunt. They're really good hunters, and I just missed a lot of that for 13 years. And so I was pretty happy when I packed it in. I'm not getting any money, but I'm happy as shit. So it's
well, your switch to art was a good switch. I'm looking at this Rosie Greer. He switched to needlepoint crochet. So
I guess you could. I mean, I knew he had an artistic.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying, like, so that there's needlepoint on one hand, and painting, oil paintings of hunting on the other. One's a little bit more, I'm just gonna say.
I would
leave
say
that
you
there.
made the right choice.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. Although crochet is
cold choice, but the right.
No, that's really interesting. Did you grow up hunting? Like, did you grow up in the Northeast? And yeah,
I did. I grew up in a little town in Western Massachusetts. God, I think we graduated 110 in our class, and they gave us Monday off, opening day, in school. And I don't even know how many places do that anymore. I'm sure they do out west, and a lot of the places but out here in the Northeast, that's long gone by. But yeah, I grew up, had a good friend of mine and my dad, and first gun I towed around was an old Model 12. I think it was almost as long as I was. And,
sure.
Just about hold the God bless the thing up. But so we had a lot of fun growing up in a little rural town. It was it was that type of deal. When it was 6 o'clock, nobody called anybody's house because they knew they were all sitting down having dinner. And and when the street lights came on, that's when you knew you had to get home. So that type of deal. And that was good. It was fun growing up that way. And but I hunted as a kid. I bow hunted, and then once I got into college, that kind of all drifted away a little bit, because for 20 years I was a teacher of art. I taught in public and private schools. And
really?
Being a student, I've kind of run the mill of elongated resume as far as that's concerned. Number of schools, and it wasn't. I decided to get out of teaching because I love to build. I built my house, and I think we spoke about this a little bit when the market crashed in '08. I was building high-end log homes, and I was out of work again. And the guy that I played ball with at UNH, he was a tight end there. He was the head coach at Sacred Heart. He called me out of the blue. I was on my tractor. I was cutting wood, and he said, "What are you doing?" I said, "Nothing." I said, "I'm on my tractor. I'm unemployed." And he goes, "Hey, he's a ticket. He just passed away a year or two ago, but he says, 'Hey, you got to come down here and help me. I got problems down here. I want you to come down and help me clean this place out.'" So one thing led to another. I can't really pay you. And, he's kind of a joker. He goes, I'll give you 300-400 here, 500 there. Anyway, 9 years later, I ended up being the coordinator, and we won a couple titles. And yeah, my travel from the small little town of Shelburne Falls it's been here and there.
Yeah.
I don't go anywhere now other than going in the woods. And I've been going through withdrawals here since the end of December. But but in the off season, I just paint. I look for things that I think other people enjoy. They'll sit down and have a beer and look at it. I mean, obviously most of what I do, you guys have seen it. Between the animals that I paint and the hunting scenes, I kind of immerse myself in them, looking around. They're usually month and a half, 2 month projects.
Yep. That was going to be my question. It takes you 2 months to paint this. I'm looking at the moose, where the guy in the plaid with the moose and the long bow, it looks like. That took about 2 months. That
actually was a little longer. That was because the picture, I took it out of an old Gray's hunting journal.
Yep.
I had a bunch of them that I saved for years. The guy's name is Dick Hamilton. It was taken on the Ho-Ho-Litna up in Alaska.
Mm-hmm.
And I loved it because he was in traditional carb. I'm a big flannel guy, and and he took it as a traditional bowman. But I always loved that picture, and I saved that book and saved it, and I said someday I'm going to paint. And that was the second one I did, and then that was 2.5 months, 2.5 months, and then after that I saw a picture of Aaron Schneider with a muley.
Yeah.
And I loved the ambers and the rust where it was set, and the look on his face and holding the animal. And I said, God, that's a great picture. So one thing led to another. Aaron sent me a digital, and I did it. Someday I'll get him to see it. He's out in Golden. I think he's on his way to Wyoming or somewhere out there. But and that was a lot of fun. And then moving down the line, I did one for Donnie and Donnie Vincent, which was epic. That was a big piece. That was 64 by 40 something, I think. No, that was a long haul, but it's and I got Brian Calls here, and Brian's another one just because of these guys. He's so far away, and God, I priced out the ship Brian's. No, I'm sorry, Aaron's, and it was like, I don't know what, $1,200.
Holy cow! Because it's so huge.
I said, you know what? I said, at some point, if I ever get back out and do some elk hunting, I said, I'll bring it to you. So,
you know what? I think if you painted a portrait of me, I would.
You drive out?
I would drive out to you, pick you up, and then we'd go hunting.
Yeah, then obviously you go hunting right afterwards. Because
that sounds like a good plan to me. I'll always be open to bartering on that. You got a good trip, I'll do a piece.
Followed by, and then we went hunting.
Yeah.
It looks like though, so oil on canvas is kind of your main thing now, but it looks like you did some glass cutting for a while. Is that true?
I did. When I was I worked at a private boarding school for 12 years, and it was 6th grade through 9th grade. We lived in the dorm, had to eat 3 squares in the dining hall a day. And after a year or two, you talk about just, you had to coach 3 sports, and they really got you by the balls doing that. But it's fun. I mean, it was a good experience. My wife, she was teaching Spanish at the time there too. And I said, I got to do something. And I painted a little bit, but they had a great glass studio there. And I just started cutting glass and creating glass. And I went through probably, I would say 10 years cutting glass. And I fooled around. I ended up doing a lot of 3-dimensional stuff, but even with my glass, I did some big pieces. And they're a lot of fun because the stained glass is such a unique medium because it just changes throughout the day. your morning light affects it differently, and
Yeah.
conversely, as late in the day, and it I really enjoyed it. It was fun doing it. I mean, you get to the end of a project and my fingers are just like everything's taped up because
Yeah.
just cutting and grinding.
Cut
But
the
yeah, that
sugar,
was yeah. I did a lot of it actually, but no, it's always there. I still got all the stuff. Once in a while somebody has, hey, can you fix this piece of my, you have a crack in there or something. I'll fiddle around with that a little bit. But,
Yeah.
my gig right now is painting. So.
Yeah, that is incredible. And I didn't know coming into this conversation you were actually also an art teacher. Because that's like,
Yeah.
I mean, you've just done like, that's a huge switch from art, teaching art, to then building a house to coaching a football team. Who is harder to keep in line, your football players or your students? What grades were they again?
Oh, I taught 12 years, 6th through 9, 6th grade through 9th grade. Now we had kids from all over the world at this school. It was one of the predominant boarding schools.
Okay.
And that was surreal in and of itself. Like in our advisory group, we had Faye Dunaway's son. I had Michael Douglas. I had Cameron in my group. It was high hitters. I mean, a lot of them. It would not be. It wasn't unusual to see a helicopter landed on the baseball field. Them getting out.
Really?
Others, yeah. King Jordan. I think it's King Jordan now. Jordan went there. He went there. So I did that that was all teaching and dorm life. And then after that, I bounced around. I taught public school art, I love that. That was just jumping up that grade level, 9th through 12th was awesome. Working with kids that a lot of them didn't have much. It was a tough high school I was at.
Okay.
But they loved getting their hands. I taught pottery, and we did painting and drawing class, and that was a lot of fun. And then from there, I got solicited to go to another public school to be the dean of students, which was, I love that job. That was a great job. I mean, they were rugged kids. It was interesting. The first interview I had with a principal, when I went back for my second interview, he offered me the job, and we talked a little bit, and we got ready to finish up, and he kind of slid a piece of paper across the desk to me, and I flipped it open, and there was 6 names on it. And he was just a great guy, great mentor. He said, this school would be a much better place if these kids weren't here. And I said, Roger that. So I ended up trying to really work with that 5 or 6 kids. Some kids are unreachable, and
Sure.
for having most of them didn't have, a good parent at home or to kind of guide them along. And I only reached 2 out of that 6. But I was happy with that because they had written them, most people, teachers, and written them off. But that was cool. And then right across the road was another boarding school that was 9 through 12. And my boys had applied there. They were hockey players. And lo and behold, their dean of students walks in to my office, and we spoke a little bit. And I had met him earlier, briefly, over at a orientation with my guys. And I just said to him, I said, Dean, I just care, why are you here? Like, being a dean of students in high school, you don't really have a lot of downtime.
Right.
And he just said, all right, I'll get to the point. He goes, I want to offer you a job. I want you to come over. I want you to run the biggest residential dorm in the country, and do a little coaching, and you'll be a residential dorm head.
Yeah.
And I said, what the heck? I said, what's wrong? I said, what's wrong with the dorm? I said, what, have you had problems? And they did have some problems, some hazing and whatnot. But, it was interesting. Dynamically, you had a dorm that at night looked like an ocean liner. 100 guys on the right side, 100 girls on the left side with 4
Right.
floors. So you can just imagine the problems that are created when you have that kind of proximity and dynamics. And it was
They're living right
interesting.
there. Yeah.
Oh yeah. You didn't have to go far to
That would have
cruise and get
saved us a lot of trouble back in the day, Jared. That would have made things a whole lot. We live kind of in the country, so it's a long way to find a girl,
Yeah. There was a lot of moments where I'd open a door and I said, all right, I'm gonna go back out a couple minutes, both of you get dressed, and then we're gonna talk. It was like, it was unbelievable. So that was 5 years there, and I ended up going to another prep school after that.
Well, being like the big guy that you are, like I would imagine for students, you see like this big guy coming in telling you to put your clothes on. Like I would imagine they move pretty quick when you said that.
They were pretty good. I mean, kids are going to be kids. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, you're 16, 17, 18, and we had postgrads.
Yeah.
So
okay.
They're going to be hunting all the time.
Yeah.
And that was just part of the whole scene, just trying to keep them, just get to vacation. I don't care what you do when you go out that door, just have a hell of a time. But try not to do it here. It was, but they're good. I mean, most of the kids are really good.
Yeah.
Had a lot of fun. I really did. It reminded me a lot of the shit that I went through. And now I'm here, I'm trying to advocate and to do this and make good decisions. And so that was interesting. It was fun and a lot of late nights.
Yeah.
A lot of late nights. Yeah. I'd have fun with it. I mean, if you didn't have fun going into those jobs, you're not long for it.
I can believe that.
I had a great laser back in the day when lasers weren't much and weren't a big thing. And
like a laser pen?
Yeah. So
Okay.
lights out, depending on when lights out was, I'd go out of the dorm and I'd get about, 50, 60 yards away so I could see all 4 floors.
Mm-hmm.
And I could see who was up and who was screwing around. And dude, I'd put that laser right on them, right on the side of their head and then I'd move it a little bit like the kids on the 4th floor. And I just move it a little bit so they could see it in front of them. And they'd look up and they go, what the hell was that? I mean, you could hear them talking to themselves. But just the shit you used to do, just have fun. And
yeah.
And they'd look out and they go, Wizard, is that you out there? And I said, go to bed, shut off your lights, just
Oh, that's really funny. I've got a lot of questions. So you go from that to building your house, deciding to be done with that, to football, right? Coach.
Yeah.
You didn't have any coaching experience prior to that.
Well, I did. Well, I coached all through high school, all through those programs and schools that I went to. The only one I didn't coach at, well, there was 2. There was one of the public schools that after I left private school. I didn't coach football. That was the first time I've coached football, baseball, hockey, ski, but I didn't coach there. And then when I moved to the Dean of Students, I didn't coach. So that was my 2-year hiatus from coaching. But other than that, it was generally always football and baseball. I played baseball too. So,
yeah.
But yeah, it was interesting run.
That is an interesting. I mean, just a crazy way to get to. Well, now you're a full-time painter. So coming out of football, right? You coached. You decided this is it. This is the time. Day one, I always think about like when people make such a big switch, they sit down on their first day. Did you just stare at a blank sheet for a while? Like, well, what's that first day like where you're like, all right, I'm taking the plunge. Here I am.
Well, actually, when I left the program and I got on the interstate, and I think it was, I don't know, I want to say it was around noon.
Mm-hmm.
And I was in the woods in about two hours.
Okay, nice.
I was on stand that night.
Great answer.
And I remember
every man should.
Well, I will answer your question in a second, but I just remember, and what little time I had put up 2 setups.
Nice.
We live up in the hill up here, and that's all the time I had. I had 2 places that I knew were that were going to be decent, and I just remember being on a setup that evening, and why didn't I do this so early? And it was like, so that was good. And to answer your question, James, I knew I was going to paint. I knew I was going to dive into it, and I had some stuff that I had saved, like the whole Litna, the Dick Hamilton, with the one the first one you talked about, Moose on the river. I knew I wanted to do that, and I knew I wanted to do a big one because I wanted people just to sit right in front of it and be with him on the river with the moose.
Yeah.
So I had, to answer your question, there wasn't a lot of, what do they call it? Writer's block in that regard.
Right.
I knew what I wanted to do. I had 3 or 4 things lined up. I had another picture of I think I have it posted there, a guy in a river fishing, an old guy fly fishing.
Yeah.
I knew I wanted to do that. So I banged those 2 out, and I started to get introduced to Instagram.
Sure.
And at the time, Aaron was doing a lot, and he was everywhere. And I saw that piece, and I said, God, I want to do that one too. So that's kind of the way it's. But to answer your question, there really wasn't a lot of idle time. I knew what I wanted to do, but I was gonna get in the woods first, and so that's how that played out. I mean, obviously there are times where, I struggle with between pieces because I spend so much time up in the studio. So I try to budget my way on the down times, that when I don't have a canvas going, I get my wood in and do other things that need to be done around here. But no, I did, to come back to that for a circle. I knew what I wanted to do. I knew I had 2 or 3 things right off the get-go that I wanted to do. And I wanted to see if I could still, God bless it, paint.
Yeah.
It had been so long since I mean, I knew I could paint something, but to do some epic pieces that are time consuming, because generally I'll get up at 4:30, 5 o'clock, I'll have a cup of coffee, and I'll come up and I'll paint till my wife's getting ready to go to work. And then once she leaves, I'm at it all day.
Okay.
I walk my dog 3 times a day, but other than that, I'm freaking grinding, frustrated, and just after it. So
yeah.
For a second, Dave, I thought you were going to say, as soon as the wife left, I kicked off the socks and kind of
I took a big nap because I got up at 4:30 in the morning. Yeah.
Yeah. She's funny. She'll get home. She goes, well, how much TV you watch today? What'd you watch? Did you binge on Clancy again or whatnot? I feel so guilty. I freaking God. So no, I try to hammer it as much or more than I did coaching. It ain't gonna get done if I'm downstairs or I'm just goofing around.
Yeah.
It's kind of my big thing.
Yeah. Well, and I like that you picked that Aaron Snyder. It's funny. I knew the Aaron Snyder picture before I even saw your painting of it, because I had seen it before, and I always had thought that's a great picture. He's kind of got this grass in the background. He's got the cool headband on. It's just like an epic looking, like if you were to get a nice mule deer, like, and someone was taking a picture of you want it to look like that, So it's beautiful.
Yeah. I mean, putting aside the scenery, which is just, for lack of an overused word, it's epic.
Yes.
But he just, in his garb and his camo and his headband and some of the camo paint on his cheeks that come down. I mean, it was kind of a badass piece. I said,
it is. Yeah. Yeah, it really is. That's Jared. Yeah. That's the paint. That's the look Jared wants. He's got to look badass.
This one.
Right. It's going to take some artistic liberty. You're going to take some artistic liberty with that one to make him look real badass. But no, that's
the beard's good. You put a headband on, you'd be good.
Yeah, right. Yeah, apparently a headband is what it takes there, Jared. That's right. You only wear a headband if you don't have a full head of hair.
Yeah, it looks a little weird without any hair on it. I've done it before. It's just not a good look.
So you're still painting. How many paintings do you work on at the same time? I see 2 in the background.
One, dude. I tried to do duels.
Yeah.
To go from one to the other, and I think it's my OCD. I can't do it.
Yeah.
I can't, because I get so immersed in between the palette and what I'm working with paint.
Yeah.
And I can't go from, because I mean, this is generally a shit show in here. I got paper towel everywhere. But if you ever have seen somebody's palette, I mean, it generally is. It's
messy.
Yeah, it's a mess, but in a good way, because you know where everything is. I mean, you can take a yellow and a cobalt blue, and you got 6, 7, 8, 9 greens that you're working with, and you're adding a little Algerian red, and you're goofing around with it. And I just couldn't go to another palette and work on something that, say I was doing a black and white, I did a series of black and whites.
Yeah.
Or something where the palette is totally different, where I'm working with all blues or more ambers and rusts, siennas. I tried it. It didn't work for me. I got so frustrated. I mean, I think I snapped a couple brushes in half, and I couldn't deal with it.
Do you do that? Do you snap stuff when you're pissed when you're painting?
Oh, wicked! Sometimes if I mean,
I couldn't see that.
They're few and far between, but it's like anything else. I just get. Well, to give you an example, Donnie Vincent's piece.
Yeah.
The shot was at a fair distance away, and actually Will took the shot.
Yeah.
John Altman's, and the eye, which was really small as far as the piece is concerned. I worked on his eye, just his eye, with a highlight, and I could not get it right for I think it was like 6 hours.
Holy cow.
Just to get him where he was focused on one particular area working across the river.
Yeah.
Because every time I goofed with it, every time I moved it, it looked like he was preoccupied, other than where he was meant to be looking.
Sure.
So I'm looking at it right now, so keep talking. I like it.
Yeah.
This is a good
so
one.
I changed it, and I changed it, and I changed it, and that was one of my 2 busted brushes, because when I hold the brush, I just snapped it with my thumb and my index finger. And I said, this is not working. I can't get it, because when you do portraiture, especially when they're looking at you, the iris, the crown of the eye, it's got to be the nearest point to you as viewing it, as far as I'm concerned, has got to be the closest to you. And when it isn't, instead of looking, like if I'm looking right at Jared right now, instead of looking right at you, I'm looking at your left ear, or I'm looking at your right.
Oh, sure.
You know what I mean? And you're not centered. And so many of them. And it's like the Almonds piece. I think I goofed with John. I think I changed John Altman. I think I changed his face 4 times, because he never was looking right at you. It was always like, okay, he's at the 3 o'clock. Now he's at the 6 o'clock. You know what I mean? And that just drives me bananas, because it's, I think maybe if I had another 10 or 15 years painting, most guys, I know that the people that are very good at it, that they can whip it out. But I tend to be a perfectionist.
Yeah.
In what I try to do, because I would say I'm a realist in that regard, that if somebody's looking at you, I want you to interact with them in a way that you're looking right back at them. And I think that's what captures those particular moments. Because if they're looking at somebody behind you, it just doesn't work.
Right.
It doesn't feel like you're not connecting.
Yeah. And it's gotten much easier, but it's amazing just a highlight, just here and there, it will change the whole scope of his direction. And to me, that's the beauty of it, when they can look, like if you're a painting right now looking at you, Jared, that we're looking at each other. We're looking at each other. You know, you're not looking past me. You're not looking low on me. We're looking right at each other.
Yeah.
So those are things that, you know, getting back to, I get frustrated. Hell, I used to be a redhead before I was a whitehead. So,
hey, me too.
yeah, I noticed that. Yeah. So.
Yeah. No, when you find that, you know, that iris is in the wrong spot, or the focal point of that portrait is in the wrong position, and you're getting frustrated because you're going to try to fix it. Like, is this like a full repaint of the face, or are you just touching up around where the eyes are, or like, how does that work?
It's just the eye.
Just the eye. You just got to redo.
It's just the eye. I mean, obviously, structurally, you know, your eyes generally sit in the middle of your head, and your nose halfway down. And those dynamics, those are easy to navigate and sketch as you go. But when you get into the personal side, for me, when I've done portraiture, that's when what's the word I want to use? That's when you kind of, you're a little bit better than most, when you can make that connection, when you can get somebody that is interacting with you on a flat surface, rather than a three-dimensional. Then I think you're getting somewhere. And I get frustrated, and it's a learning. I learn every day. I'm learning right now. I haven't done a portrait in a long time. This piece is up at my son's camp up in northern Maine. It's you know, to try to, you know, people see sunsets, try to paint them and get that effect, or you know,
it kind of draws you in.
Yeah. It's
is that the Where is John Galt? Is that what I'm looking at?
Yeah.
Is that what that one is? I like the callback. I don't know how many listeners would know who is John Galt, but
no, and it's sad in a way, given all of the BS we're going through right now. But
we could use a little bit more of that for sure. Holy cow!
You got that right. I pick and choose my battles. That's for God bless you.
Now, when you nail that highlight, right? You got it right, and you're just like, yes. Like, do you throw up like confetti, or like if I were to nail, like, if I were just to nail that little detail, and I've been frustrated all day working on that, I think I would snap a paintbrush in excitement.
In excitement, a celebratory snap. Yeah.
No, I'm just the opposite. I like, my battle is with me all the time. Mm-hmm. Like, all I do is battle myself. And I was in a different part of the house. I was down cellar, and with a setup down there with Donnie's thing. And when I finally got it right, I think it was like 6 to 7 o'clock at night. I just looked at it, and I kind of sat back, and I said, "It's about effing time. You awful." And just moving now, you're doing the horses. You just keep plodding along. Yeah, I suppose, Jared, to answer you, I suppose I pause and say, all right.
Hell yeah.
I feel good.
Yeah.
And if I could kick myself in the ass, I do it. But now it's some of them are frustrating. Like Aaron's was awesome. I did Aaron's in one shot. Of course, he's not looking at you, but he's looking at the animal.
Yeah.
And I did him in one shot. I did the almonds piece, and that was awesome for me. I showed that at a gallery. Drove lots across Maine. If anybody's been across Maine on the widest part, it's a long drive to get to John's. But I did Josh in one shot. I did Will in one shot, and John I did him 2 or 3 times. But that for me that's the first time that I think I mentioned this to you, James. That's the first time that I've done kind of an epic, full-blown portraiture setting, painting like that, and then finally sat down with the people that I painted them.
Yeah, he mentioned that.
So cool,
yeah,
which was so cool because John was going to come over to the showing and see it. He couldn't make it. Something had come up, and I was going back up to pick up. I had 15 pieces up in a 12-foot trailer. And I said, you know what? I called John. I said, I'm coming across because my son lives right below him about an hour.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I'm going to come across. I said, I want you to see it. I didn't tell him I was going to leave it there. I thought I would surprise him with that. But when I got there, it was so cool because when I got there, he and Josh were there, and we shot we sat on the back of his barn on the steps, and we were shooting the shit for a while, getting to know each other. And Will showed up, and I think we spoke for about a half an hour, and I hadn't taken anything out of the trailer, and there was kind of a pause in what we were talking about, and I said, well, you want to see it? And Josh, he's such a great kid. I don't know if you guys have ever met Josh.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He's an awesome kid. Will is too. Will's obviously a little quieter, but Josh was funny. He goes, yeah, let's get it out. Let's get it out. So I pulled it out and I set it against it. We went in the barn, set it against a beam, and I unwrapped it and left just a finite wrap that's on the inner wrap. And I said, look, take it down. And it was so cool for me as an artist to just look at their reaction when they opened it. And they were all three right there, all three of those guys. And it was like, what the fuck? Shit. It was cool for me. It was like, all right, that's why I do it. And those situations have been rare. We were hoping to bump into Donnie when he was up on his moose hunt because his piece was up there at John's.
That's right. Yeah.
That didn't work out, which is fine. But I love like for Aaron to see it and Brian and but that to me was a wow moment. That was like, okay, I'm decent at what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So not to go into a tangent, but I had all these pieces.
Yeah.
I had the buffalo, the rams. I had some whitetails. I got a bunch of them in here, and I said, "You want to see Donnie? You want to get out Donnie?" He said, yeah. So anyway, make a long story short, we got out 6 pieces, and we hung them in the barn, and they looked awesome. So they stayed there for I don't know a month and a half, and I went up. Late during bow season, it was second week May, and went up and picked up the other pieces, and I left John, Will, and Josh's piece up there. I said, "You guys enjoy this for a while." I said, "Just gonna sit in my studio."
Yeah.
I said, "Have at it, and drink a few beers for me while you're reminiscing about hunts run." And I left Donnie's up there, and Donnie ended up at piece ended up. I guess Will had just built a house or something or bought a house, so he brought it there. But to me, that was pretty awesome to just watch the expression on their eyes, and they're just like, "Wow, that's unbelievable."
Yeah.
It's cool.
Well, what I like about it is, hunting in America and art go together a lot more than I think people really realize. For the longest time, we were this wild land in a new place, and guys would paint it and show it off. And I was just in the art museum a couple of days ago in Detroit, and I mean it's these epic landscape paintings of stuff that the old world wasn't used to seeing. And so like part of our identity was told through painting and hunting. And so what you're doing is like very consistent with what it is to be an American, and especially American hunter. I think of so my wife, art history major, so I did a lot of flashcards with her in college when we were dating. Had to keep her interested in me, and whatever that took. So I ended up picking up a little bit along the way. Huge fan of the Winslow Homer. For anybody listening, look him up. He's got some guys out in boats. He's got this one of this kid with a hound next to him. He's dragging this buck up a hill, and it's just like. It's just awesome, right? And it's just kind of a lot like your art. You look at it and there's like, well, there's a story right here, and you kind of can see it and you tell it. And what I like about your painting, not only that it kind of fits with who we are as Americans and hunters, but every painting has movement, and every painting has this interesting character that you just look at you just keep looking at it. You can't stop looking at it. And I don't know if it's the way you move your brush or how that works, but it is phenomenal.
No, I
Phenomenal
appreciate
stuff.
it. I'd love for you to see him in person, because that's where it just kicks up a notch.
Yeah.
Where, people say, "Oh, that's really nice," but then to stand in front of them, that's when you really say, "Okay, I'm going in the right direction." Because people say, "Wow, that's unbelievable." My biggest thing, because of the pieces that I work, the size of them, I really want people to stand in front of them and kind of become part of it. My wife's always saying, "Why don't you work on something smaller?" I say, "I get claustrophobic. I can't do that.
Yeah,
It's too
right.
small. No, it's too small." So, but that's to dovetail on what you just said. That's what I'm trying to accomplish. To preserve, like I had some posters done for a show a couple of years ago, and I put on them, protect our heritage, defend our culture.
Yep.
And, it's important to me because I see the swing of it, and I think more people may be getting in the hunting for maybe the wrong reasons.
Sure.
And I mean, I grew up, with a father who said, "All right, we went in dark. He sat me down. He goes, 'Do not leave here until I come back.'" So
I did the same thing, and it freaked me out when I was a little kid. I'm like, it's dark. Like usually it was dark for a while by the time you made it back to me,
Yeah. So it's not to say what's going on today is wrong, but I just I've always been a sitter, and but you go dark to dark sitting. That's a tough row to hoe right there. Especially when you're sitting on 2 years ago, I sat for 5 days on 2 big signposts, dark to dark, and nothing, not a thing. Saw a nice moose, but I guess that's what I'm trying to capture. And when it's all said and done, to wherever these end up, hopefully it tells that story of people who are passionate about backcountry hunting, elk hunting, muley plain hunting, ram hunting, all of it. It's something that I don't see a lot of, and I'm not to say I'm trying to corner something. I think that's my niche. Not making much money on it, but I think I'm getting better. At some point, the worm will turn, I hope.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, all the people that are listening to the podcast, are going to go out and buy pieces. And do you do you do shows a lot? Is that how this typically goes? You paint a series and go on. How does that work?
I've done 2 shows now, but with this whole stupid COVID thing, it's knocked the sporting shows out of whack. And people are paranoid. And to be honest with you, I get frustrated around that type of hysteria. I really do. I do, and it's just me. And and I'm not one of these guys. Well, I'm gonna bend the things that are principled with me to maybe sell something. I'm not. I kind of made a decision. I'm just gonna, when hunting season's over, I'm just gonna do a bunch more paintings. And at some point, I think the opportunity will show that I can really cater and find a venue that guys who love to be in the woods, who love to hunt, fish, can walk, through this gallery and say, "Oh, this is what it's about.
Yeah,
this is something I can really appreciate." And so that's, the whole pandemic thing. It's kind of screwed everything up. But in a way, I do more paintings. So
whatever.
A blessing in disguise.
Your work from home, WFH, work from home. Yeah, that's what it is. That's what everybody talks about these days. Yeah. Yep. So you've got some coming down the pike. It looks like you're finishing up. You got your next one planned out yet?
Yeah, actually. God, I can't remember her name. Is it Becca? She's a traditional bow hunter.
Yep.
I don't know that you're familiar with
her kid with her a lot.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't remember her last name.
she had a pose. Actually, I'm looking at the picture right over there. Anyway, I haven't done a female yet, and I wanted to get a gal on canvas hunting in a hunting or fishing scene, and she had a great shoot. It was I think they were marketing something else, but she's in a prone position and she's at full draw, and she's got some of the garb on, and I really like that. I mean, that tells us. I think it tells the story of not only the hunting, the bow hunting aspect, but it's and she's passionate about what she does, and you can see that. So that's on my docket, and I've talked to her, and she's actually sent me the digital for that. And then at some point, I want to do a big bull moose in a kind of a rugged setting. I'd like to get him maybe in rut, where he's a little pissed off. If I can catch that moment by somebody, that's something I want to do. And my son, one of my sons, I've got twin sons, and a younger by 3 years than them. He just wrote a children's book, so I'm trying to illustrate that for him. It's about a chicken. Yeah, it's called Rebecca the Hen. And it's at Rebecca the Hen.
I like that.
And Rebecca the Hen flies the coop in a helicopter. So I'm trying to illustrate it. It's kind of comical. I've been doing all pen and ink for that. So, which has been a little bit diverged, moving in another direction. And I just told him about a month ago, I said, dude, I'm done. I said, I can't look at another chicken because we got 8 chickens. Or, we got 10 chickens. And I've been out taking pictures every morning of them roosting and laying and trying to get the optimum pictures of stupid chickens. And I just told him, I think I'd done like 8 pen and inks. And I said, Zach, I said, I'm done. I got to get back on canvas. I said, just give them to the illustrator. If they want them, fine. If they don't, get somebody else to do it. He goes, Dad, just relax. It'll be all right. It's good. So I had a run with chickens. I'll feed them now, but I'm not drawing any more chickens. So,
I'm not a huge fan of chickens. I take care of my brother and sister-in-laws when they're out of town always, and it's just poop. I mean, they're just poop, and that's all it is. I'm just scraping, and I feel like, especially now, they're not laying eggs. They're just taking up space, just clucking and pooping and making me do stuff.
Yeah. The winter months are tough for chickens, and it's been cold as a bastard. You guys know that. So they weren't laying for about a month, and I said to my wife, I said, you know what? Like you said, I'm sick of feeding them. I'm sick of cleaning them, and they're not producing, and we're giving them feed. They're not holding their end of the bargain.
That's right.
I talked to a good friend of mine. He goes, just put a red lamp in there. So put a red lamp in there, James, and they were laying eggs within a month.
I'll have to let him know. He doesn't keep his warm enough. He started with chickens, and then he expanded into guinea fowl. If you've ever looked those up, they're the dumbest bird that exists, I think. And then they have ducks, but the guinea fowl got kind of sad actually, but got frostbite on their toes, and they fell off. And so they just walk around on pegs. There's one they call him Peggy, and I think I was pushing for Lieutenant Dan for the other one. But they walk around, and it's like, I don't know, like they kind of stumble, fall, walk, but they seem to be fine. It's weird.
Yeah. No, I don't. I love our chickens because I love not paying for the eggs, but I'm not drawing another chicken for a while. So,
well,
I'm done.
Yeah. Well, hey, we're coming up on time here. But what I want to make sure is that people can go see your art. They can look at it online. They can ask you questions about it and so on. So for people who are looking to find you, what's the best place for them to start, and where can they find you?
Instagram. I got rid of my website because it wasn't generating. It was costing me more than it was bringing in. So just Instagram, I just throw them on there, and it's Dave Wissman art. So that's the easiest way, James. I'm not a big marketing guy. I'm not a big, which I guess I should be. Self-promotion has never been my big thing.
Yeah.
But I figured if you build it, they will come. So
That's right.
I'm still building.
Love it. Well, keep building it. Keep posting it. It's been fun to follow. I was just looking. Jared had been commenting on your stuff like a long time ago, creeping around your Instagram. So keep it coming out. We really appreciate you and what you do, and for you taking the time to talk about your interesting story to becoming an artist after being a football player, coach, teacher, player. I mean, and all the other things you've been doing. So thank you again for your time, and it was good to chat.